They were each other's first love, the kind that doesn't fade with time but buries itself deep, waiting. They met when life was simpler, hearts were wide open, and dreams hadn't yet pulled them in different directions. It was pure. It was intense. It was everything, until it wasn't. Life got loud, responsibilities crept in, and they made the impossible decision to walk away for love, not because it lacked, but because timing failed. Years went by, new faces, new places. They moved on. At least that's what they told themselves. But some feelings don't die. They just wait for the right moment to return. And when fate finally brought them back together, everything changed. Who's listening right now, and from where? Drop your city or country in the comments. I'd love to know who's feeling this story with me. Emily and Jake met in a small Pennsylvania town where everyone knew everyone. She was the quiet girl who painted sunsets and dreamed of New York skylines. He was the local quarterback with a heart far deeper than the world gave him credit for. Their worlds collided at a high school charity event where Emily volunteered and Jake got dragged into helping clean up. That moment, insignificant to the world, changed everything for them. They spent senior year inseparable. Coffee dates at the corner diner, sneaking away to the lake at midnight just to talk about the future, scribbling notes in each other's lockers. They believed in each other more than they believed in themselves. When Emily got accepted into an art school in Manhattan and Jake received a football scholarship in Texas, they made a pact. They would try, no matter how far apart they were. For a while they did. Long-distance late-night calls, care packages, meeting up during school breaks. But college had its own gravity. Schedules collided, people changed, and the cracks began to form. Fights turned from playful to painful. Time zones felt heavier than ever. And one night, after a tearful 3-hour phone call, they decided to do the unthinkable. Let go. Years passed. Emily became everything she hoped, an illustrator for a children's publishing house in Brooklyn. Her work was colorful, imaginative, but her life always felt a little muted. She dated, laughed, worked hard, but a part of her heart stayed locked in the past, untouched. Jake, on the other hand, never made it to the NFL. An injury his junior year forced him to pivot. He returned to Pennsylvania and started coaching at his old high school, trading his dream for something quieter, more stable. He too tried dating, but every time someone got close, he pulled away, haunted by what he had once held and lost. Neither followed each other on social media. There were no texts, no birthdays remembered, just silence. But every now and then, both would scroll through old photos, her hand in his hoodie on her, memories that stung sweet. They didn't know it, but their hearts still beat a little differently when they walked past familiar songs, familiar smells, familiar places. Destiny wasn't done. It was just waiting. It was fall. Emily had flown home for her mother's 60th birthday. She rarely returned. Too many ghosts, too many reminders. But her mom insisted this year. Jake, meanwhile, had stopped by the local bakery to grab cupcakes for his nephew's school fundraiser. He wasn't supposed to be there that day. He wasn't supposed to be at that exact moment, but destiny doesn't play by logic. They crossed paths at the bakery's front counter. She stood ahead of him in line. At first, it was just a double take, a glance, a moment of hesitation, then recognition. Her hand froze mid-reach for a cinnamon roll. He whispered her name like it was a memory he hadn't dared say aloud in years. Emily? She turned, heart racing, and smiled the kind of smile that's both a wound and a welcome. Jake. The world blurred. Time stopped. It wasn't just nostalgia. It was a flood of everything unsaid, everything unfelt. The conversation was clumsy at first, catching up, laughs forced between nerves. But beneath it all was that unspoken electricity, the one that never really died. They agreed to meet for coffee later that day. It was supposed to be casual, but 3 hours later, they were still talking about their jobs, their families, their regrets. Jake told her he never stopped believing in her art. Emily confessed she had once come close to emailing him after a breakup, but never had the courage. Over the next few days, they met again and again. Walks through old high school hallways, sitting by the lake where they once carved their initials into a tree. The air was thick with memory and possibility, but things were different now. Emily's life was in New York. Jake's was rooted in Pennsylvania. They were older, wiser, cautious. "We've done this dance before," Emily said one night. "What if it ends the same way?" Jake didn't have the answers, but he knew one thing. Letting her go once was the hardest thing he'd ever done. Doing it again? Unthinkable. As her trip came to an end, Emily faced a decision: return to New York and leave everything unfinished, again, or take a risk. Jake, too, wrestled with his own fears. He couldn't ask her to stay. Not again. He respected her dreams too much, so he made the bold move. He asked to come visit her in New York, just one weekend. No pressure, no promises. She agreed. That weekend changed everything. Jake saw her world, fast-paced, colorful, full of passion, and she saw his presence in it, steady, grounding, safe. For the first time, they didn't try to force anything. They just existed together. 6 months later, Emily took a remote position with her company, allowing her to split time between New York and Pennsylvania. Jake started writing, a book about second chances inspired by his own. They didn't rush into anything. They built slowly, intentionally. And one day, on a quiet dock by the same lake where they once carved their names, Jake pulled out a small wooden box. Inside it, a ring and a folded piece of paper. The note Emily wrote him in high school before leaving for college. The one that ended with, "If we're meant to be, life will bring us back." With tears in his eyes, Jake whispered, "It did." Emily nodded, unable to speak, heart pounding with its same old rhythm. They had let each other go, but destiny had other plans. Sometimes love isn't about holding on tightly. It's about trusting time, growth, and the magic of the unknown. If this story touched your heart, drop a heart in the comments and let us know your thoughts. And if you've ever had a love you couldn't forget, share it below. We read every comment. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell for more powerful stories from Fearless Motivation. Until next time, believe in love even when it takes the long way home.